We've all grown up listening to the Cinderella story. And as much as we know that no man is gonna come, rescue you from your evil sisters, whisk you away and allow you to boss other people around, though you know the struggle, so you'd be nice to your staff. Sometimes we still fall for the Cinderella lie. This time, the Cinderella in question is Annie, the stripper. And we'll look how even when you know the game, you still might get swept away when the right person comes along. You know how we do it here? We narrate, we analyze, we often judge, and we try to believe that we know better and would do better. Hopefully. Annie is 23 years old and she's working at a strip club. She's surrounded by red lights, sensual music, and the pleasure people are seeking. And girls offering. Annie offering. She's good at her job, confident, and she knows what her customers like. She even listens to them. But don't get it twisted. If a guy gets a little bit too much therapy-like, she's quick to offer a VIP room. We can talk, but pay up. When one customer is served, off to the next one. This is her job. This is what puts food on the table. And if someone asks her to give him a lap dance, even though it's her colleague's customer, that's not her problem. She's here to take care of her coin. Some colleagues might be a little bit challenging, but she also has her best friend. And when they're outside on a break, we see the bubbly personality of Annie.
Is that a butterfly?
Yeah, it's a butterfly.
You're so classy.
I know. I got dollar signs like a real hoe.
No, but you're manifesting with those.
Oh, it has to be visible. When you see things, you manifest. Maybe Annie is manifesting to just fly away or transform her life like a butterfly. And as much as Annie is a sweetheart, she will not let people walk all over her. If someone is disrespecting her, she's gonna make it
The
known.
girls and I have been talking, and if your cousin doesn't start showing us some respect, we're not gonna tip out anymore.
All right.
Now, there's a special client in the club this evening, and Annie is asked to serve him. You see, he's from Russia, and Annie has some Russian origins, so perfect match. She's a bit hesitant, like Russian is not really her thing, but at the same time, usually Russians have the bank. So, a job is a job. She approaches the VIP room where this client is having fun, and she's a bit surprised. She might have expected someone older, but in reality, this guy is around her age, maybe looking even a little bit youngish.
I'm Ivan, and nothing worse than звать меня просто Ваня.
Vanya,
A little side note, Ivan and Vanya are kind of used interchangeably because Vanya is usually like a nickname to Ivan, or Ivan, I guess it's more used, let's say, outside Russia. And if I explained that wrong, please let me know in the comments below. I do not want to spread any misinformation, but that's what Google told me. Now, what is an interesting detail is that Vanya actually means the gift of God. What's that? Is the manifestation happening? Don't get it twisted, people. This is a job. Annie is there to make money. Vanya is very happy that Annie can speak Russian, but it's not really like that. You see, Annie can understand Russian, but she doesn't really feel comfortable speaking it. When he prompts her to try a little bit, it's clear why. She doesn't speak the best Russian. Vanya finds it amusing, cute, like he loves the accent, but eventually they decide to just speak in their preferred languages, okay? Vanya in Russian and Annie in English.
you wanna go to VIP maybe?
So we see how Annie is surviving, how this is her job, and she's very clear about this being separate from who she is. She doesn't go deep into emotional connection. She's there to make money, and that's it. She also gives a very confident presence, like she is the one in control. But if we try to understand better this preference to not speak Russian, we could also see how this confidence might not be as strong as one might think. Now, people, here comes a little bit of my experience, my expertise, being someone who learned a couple of languages. And, one might say that in some cases, I was forced to learn it. In a professional setting, what you usually want to have is confidence. You want people to respect you. And how everything developed through history, language, and how you articulate yourself is a huge indicator of how will you be perceived by other people. I mean, we all know this. So when you don't really know a language, you try to avoid speaking it. And not because you don't feel comfortable speaking the language, it's because you don't feel comfortable how people might judge you not being able to articulate yourself. So we could say that it's the same with Annie. She is in a professional setting and in one where she needs that confidence. She needs that sense of control so she can do her job well. So speaking in a language that she's not comfortable with takes that power away, puts the power on the customer in this case. But where it gets interesting is how Ivan or Vanya is not so ashamed or shy about not speaking well English. He doesn't speak English because he genuinely does not know how to speak English well, but we don't get this sense of embarrassment like we do with Annie. Now, looking at this difference, it makes you wonder, is it because one of them is always fighting not to be judged, while the other one doesn't really know what it's like to be judged? Maybe Annie is impacted by this indicator of status, while Ivan or Vanya isn't. Bess. She's also moving fast. She's not here to make chit-chat with Vanya, so she's quick to offer him a VIP room. Now, she starts lap dancing and she even makes some special treats for a special customer. He is extremely happy, and by the end of the night, he also asks her if she does work outside. And Annie is happy to give him her
Я
number.
хотел спросить, а ты работаешь вне клуба?
Give me your phone.
Now, let's put some things straight here. Okay, so here's the thing. Annie's behavior can be seen as the male gaze or maybe the male expectation, where people might expect that if you're a special customer, you're gonna get special treatments, right? Or the fact that if someone is working in a strip club, they will also work outside. And this can be very dangerous. This is a job like any other. Like this is an industry. The same way you do not appreciate when your boss or store manager asks you to work a double shift or work during the weekends and you get pissed, the same way, if someone works in a strip club, it does not automatically mean that they will do more for you or that you are entitled to that. And when people see things like this on TV, I mean, you know how it is, TV is the truth, then people who work in this industry get the bad side of it because suddenly customers are expecting things that should not be expected. So just, have that in mind, okay? This is not a representation of how things go down in a strip club, that you're gonna get special treatment and you're also gonna, a stripper is also gonna be a prostitute. Her shift has ended and it's time to go home. We see her walking down the street, it's early morning and she is clearly exhausted. She goes to bed, but it doesn't take long before her sister is knocking on the door, opening and asking her if she picked up milk.
Yo, did you pick up milk?
Just like that. No empathy to the fact that Annie is sleeping and that she just had a full night job. The relationship is clearly not the best. And there is a sense of disregard for Annie and her work. It looks like she lives with her sister, and later on we see also sister's boyfriend. But overall, the sense is that even at home, Annie doesn't really have courtesy of her sister letting her sleep. She wakes her up for petty shit. Now, later on, we see Annie on the stairs smoking a cigarette, and she gets a text from Vanya. It's go time. I guess Annie is almost always on. When there's the opportunity, she goes. And you bitches complain when you need to work on Friday till 5. By the way, I'm totally that bitch. With her responding so fast to this message, again, there is a sense of survival mode, right? She's doing this to make money so she can survive. Now, Annie gets to Vanya's place and this man lives in a freaking mansion. He is actually very excited to see Annie.
Hi, hello, what's up?
Gives her a hug and he treats her very nicely. Like he asks her if she wants to drink alcohol. She says no because people, let's remember, this is her job. She needs to be clear-headed and overall is good to her. It's actually giving a young man being a little bit nervous around a beautiful woman. There's a sense of innocence to it. And also, when he runs up the stairs to go to the bedroom, he kind of stops and remembers, oh shit, turns around and he's like, sorry, I'm gonna wait for you. Very innocent, very anxious, like all over the place, but in a cute way. They get to the bedroom and we get a little glimpse of who Ivan might actually be. You see, when his bed is not made up, he makes a snarky comment about the people who are responsible for it.
They didn't make my bed yet, so конечно сложно.
Now, Annie doesn't really seem to clog that. She's more impressed with the view she's experiencing right now. Like, this is something totally new for her. The wealth is wealthing. They get to business and the business ends quickly. It's giving young boy too excited to last. Annie finds it amusing and almost a little bit like this boy. But this easy money. They sit on his bed and they start talking a little bit. She finds out that this man is 21 years old and his riches come from...
I'm really big drug dealer.
You trust?
No. Annie is so naive. His gun dealing. Again, it's so easy to fool her. Well, it's actually...
My father. Google him.
Do we get another glimpse of who Ivan is? Is the privilege disguised as innocence? I know. So there is this doubt about who Ivan is. Is he a young man who likes to have fun? Or it's the facade of, yeah, my dad is rich and I hate it. Annie, on the other hand, despite holding her cool, being in control, understanding where are her limits and boundaries, she is impressed by what she's seeing. His wealth and also the fact that his father is rich. Potentially, compared to her other customers, Vanya seems innocent and wealthy, and that kind of signals comfort, and not him being just another club goer, where potentially the treatment is not the best. Now, Annie is back at the strip club, and she shares this rare find with her bestie, and both of them are shooketh.
No way. Yes, fucking way.
They cannot believe that Annie actually scored someone so rich and powerful. And not only that, this boy is totally inexperienced, innocent, and just a lot of fun. It almost feels like she's impressed with herself being able to score a customer like that. And the way her friend and also Annie are excited about this, there's again this hint of, yes, this is a job, but also it means something if someone is of higher status and wants
I'm
you.
not seeing him again tonight, so I guess we have fun or something.
And there is a first glimpse of how she's not only after the financial security and gain, but also the emotional gain she might get associated with this type of man. But as much as Annie and her friend are gushing about this guy, there's another colleague that's not so impressed. You see, she knows exactly how Annie scores this type of guys.
Yeah, we all know how fun you are, babe.
Hinting at the off-work business. But for Annie, you know how it is, jealousy. She is back at Svanya's place. Another request, another service, another booking. And this time, she has a special gift for Vanya. She's giving him a nice strip dance. They have sex, the bong is out again, and he plays video games. Now, Annie is sitting on the couch next to him, and there is this sense of cuteness and vulnerability to her. We kind of see two Annies, right? The work Annie and the Annie who just relaxes and is being herself after the job is done. And maybe the Annie who's influenced by who her customer is. Vanya, on the other hand, after the deed is done, is playing video games. And again, we see the difference between the two. Vanya is almost showing that after the job is done, he just goes to do what he wants to do next. While Annie, on the other hand, is more like, waiting on him there. But overall, there is a sense of comfort between the two of them, like they are hanging out. Now, Ivan asks Annie to come to his New Year's party. He's gonna organize it in his mansion, and Annie should come. Now, Annie is a little bit reluctant, but Ivan doesn't give her much space for that.
I might have to work that night.
Oh no, you might not work that night.
She will come and she can also bring someone, as long as that someone is not a guy, okay? Now, this is not a job. This is now her being invited to his party. And we can see how Annie is almost a little bit impressed by it, maybe even a little bit grateful by it. He's inviting her to a party. He's wanting more than just her services. It's a deal. She'll come. And as she's sitting there looking at Vanya, she actually offers her services again. You see, he did book for an hour and they still have 45 minutes left.
You pay for an hour and there's still like 45 minutes left if you want to go again.
In this moment, she does not see this as easy money. She was booked for 1 hour, it was done in 15 minutes, and it's not her fault that he's fast, right? And yet, she feels like she's in debt to him. She feels like she wants to give him more. And it makes you wonder, is it because he is treating her the way he's treating her? Almost as a thanks to inviting her to this party? Or simply because she understands that if she gets this customer, if she makes him her regular, it's good for her. But the real switch is actually happening when now going to this New Year's party, it's not anymore about this being her job and she is, doing her work and someone hired her. This is now her going as her own self. She's going to a party, she is not paid for anything, and she's basically exchanging time with this person for free. And we also see that when the opportunity comes to enjoy the finer things, Annie goes after it. Annie is not thinking, this is maybe not smart because this is a customer and, she's actually excited to experience something new, hinting again at the butterfly desire, manifesting a better life. Now, before and if you watch the movie, are like, oh my God, she is so stupid. She shouldn't have done that. Bitch, please sit down. Who wouldn't do this? Let me give you another example. You're in a corporate, you're working business hours, you're trying to build your career, and someone, your manager, boss, or colleague who has a lot of influence invites you to their barbecue party and you're not going. You will not take the opportunity to hang with the right crowd. So, maybe it will help you in your career also, because it's hustling out here. Let's give Annie some grace, okay? And again, there is this sense of the tables being turned. While before, Ivan was all about, oh my God, Annie, right? And having this young man being nervous about a beautiful woman attitude and Annie having control. Now, Annie sees Ivan or Vanya as someone who she should be grateful for. Now, this transition can also hint at how easy it is to blur those lines when there is glamour and wealth involved. Because at the end of the day, we've all grown up with understanding that as long as you have that, you're worthy in the eyes of society, but also maybe in your own eyes. So when the hope for more is presented, it's enticing. So they do it again and the vibe is the same. He comes quickly and Annie is amused. It is New Year's party and we see Annie and her bestie approaching the mansion and they are ecstatic. They cannot believe that this is happening. This is really happening. They are going to rich people, to a customer that Annie has who's not an older, maybe sleazy, wealthy guy, but actually a young, innocent man who is not that bad. Clearly, this is a rare opportunity. Clearly, this is not something these two ladies are used to. And they do feel like they are getting something better in life. It's not only she has a well-paying client, it's about that she's almost now participating in this lifestyle. And again, it's showing that Annie is not just yearning for survival, to get that money and survive, but for acceptance, for having in general a better life. Now, in this party, we see again Vanya treating Annie like she is his date. He's excited that she's there. He introduces her to all her friends. And despite Annie trying to keep it cool in front of Vanya, we do see her kind of looking at him. Like there's that glance, that appreciation and happiness. Now, on the other hand, we see a little exchange of what Ivan's friends think about Vanya. And they are impressed, but at the same time amused. That's the escort Ivan is effing. Is this reality of how Annie is perceived by all of them, including Ivan, or just his friends being a bit of a douche? The fireworks go off. It is officially New Year, and Ivan and Annie are sitting on the couch. Now he asks her if she is available tonight for those services. Annie is playing a little bit hesitant, like, she's free tonight, so the rates are the double. Ivan has no problem. He gonna pay up. And voila. Despite luring us into the possibility of this not being anymore the client and service provider relationship, but maybe a bit beyond that, we set the record straight. Vanya wants services and Annie has her business mind on, so she gonna make that coin. Despite being impressed, she doesn't fall for the fantasy just like that. She knows how she needs to make sure she's good. And the only thing that's sure is getting the money right now. Now, this time, when they're having sex, we don't see Annie being amused. She's almost enjoying, or at least pretending to be enjoying. But it is different than before. Again, she might be really starting to like Vanya, or she's just making sure that he stays her customer. Most likely both. By the way, do you see this little mushkin here? You're so cute. We see Annie waking up, and it is 5 p.m. in the afternoon. She's freaking out because she needs to go to work. Now, Vanya is a little bit more like,
Yeah, don't go. Don't go yet.
No, dude, I have to go to work. I have shit to do, okay?
I have one question.
what about if we get exclusive?
My horny girlfriend for the week.
He'll book her for a week as his girlfriend. Now, Annie is intrigued, but she wants to talk business. How much? He offers 10K, but Annie negotiates 15. It's a deal. Annie smiles and she admits that she would actually done it for 10. But Ivan is quick to fire back.
Вау, знаешь, а я бы не сделал это меньше, чем за $30,000.
Well, according to him, she shouldn't have gone lower than 30. He comes across as this spoiled rich kid, but he's also savvy, and he is aware that Annie is worth much more. Now, Annie, on the other hand, despite her, negotiating more, we can still see that she is not fully aware of how much power she actually has. She feels like she's getting the better end of the deal. Overall, this does show us that even though this is like a flirtatious moment, their relationship is transactional. Now, Annie is going into real fast. It's from first meeting to now being booked for a full week as his girlfriend, right? It's almost like you'd be dating, if this wasn't a job, it's like you meet a guy on Tinder, you go to 2-3 dates, and the 4th days he's already proposing to you, right? It's fast and usually it's not good. But in this case, it is easy money for Annie. Imagine, she gets 15K for a week of hanging out with this guy who's not even like, asking her to do things that she's not comfortable doing. And she literally has the opportunity to hang out with rich folks that want to have fun and live carefree. What's bad about that? We see Annie back at the strip club getting her week off because she doesn't get any benefits from this job. So if she wants a week off, she's gonna get it.
Jimmy, once you give me health insurance, workers' comp, and a fucking 401k, then you can tell me when I work and not work.
Bye.
And we see her also packing at her place, which she shares with her sister.
I'll be back on Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday. Correct.
Again, showing this estranged relationship. No one really cares if she just goes somewhere for a week. Where does she go? Who does she go with? It's just like, okay, bye-bye. She gets picked up. The driver takes her bag, and it is a week of ecstasy for Lil Miss Annie and also Vanya. Now, this is a total flip, my people.
You know, and it's a champagne glass of my mother, of my fucking mother. And it will be your champagne glass.
Annie goes from being level-headed, knowing that this is her job, to literally mashing and being a true girlfriend to this man. They're going to parties all the time. They are cuddling with each other on the couch. We see her almost kind of enjoying again the sex, not really, but she doesn't find it amusing. And overall, it is a true fairy tale. A true Cinderella fairy tale. Going from the job she had, being exhausting, working in night shifts, hustling, to being wined and dined however she wants, to living carefree, with not a worry on her mind or the sense of struggle.
We are going to fucking
Though there are moments where we do see how she is battling with being comfortable with how Vanya and his friends are spending the money, and how money for her is a source of survival. When they're at a casino and Ivan is like all in and Annie is like, yeah, all in. When they actually lose the money, Annie is like, wait, what?
Whatever.
As mentioned, she's also hanging with his friends. And what we see is that his friends also seem to be living on Ivan's dime, because they seem to be working at a candy shop. They don't seem to be in the circles of Ivan, but it's again this, we're friends because Ivan pays for everything and we're just having fun all the time. And not that they would bash Ivan or anything, nothing like that, but just this ecstasy and this fantasy of being taken away by someone who has a lot of money, and now we just all have fun. Because that's the thing, It is easy to say when someone doesn't have money that they are hanging with someone just because they have money, right? You could even say, oh my God, you're using these people, you're only for the money and you're a bad person. But that's not the reality. The reality, I think, is that you genuinely feel like, oh my God, I can really experience this. And you're almost grateful to this person. They like Ivan and they like this lifestyle. And also from Ivan's side, it doesn't feel like he's just throwing money at these people. Not at all. They're like literally hanging as friends. But we all know that underneath it all, there is a transactional relationship. The same way between Annie and Ivan. As long as she's being paid for this week, it doesn't matter how she feels, how she's being treated as a part of the group, as his girlfriend. She is still there to provide a service of being a girlfriend. Now, we also see them having couples massage. And Ivan asks Annie if she is happy.
Hey, are you happy?
Yes, very happy.
Vanya seems to care about Annie. He wants her to be happy. He wants for her to feel good. He's not looking at her just someone who is giving him services. He's also connecting with her. And that could make Annie feel like Ivan is different. He's not just someone who is just wanting her for her services. He's actually interested in her well-being. And maybe she's not used to that. Now we also see her starting to guide Vanya in bed. She wants to make sure that they do this right and that they both experience pleasure, which is hinting again at how Annie herself is starting to see Vanya as someone who she owes something to, who she wants to help, support, and connect on a deeper level. Or maybe, because this is like an everyday thing now, she just wants to make sure that she's also having some fun with it. Again, can it be one or the other, or can it be both? And the fact that the lines or the boundaries are starting to blur heavily. She's moving from being detached from the act to actually participating in it. They're lying in bed, and it's actually the end of the week. the week of Annie being his girlfriend. She hopes he had fun, and she thinks that they should do this again. Ivan agrees, but the thing is that he needs to go back to Russia. He needs to go back to work for his father's company.
Okay, so that's why you've been splashing out,
No, I'm always fighting like this.
I love it.
This is his lifestyle, and Annie loves it. She loves how they were partying the whole time, how they were living carefree, and she's gonna miss him. Ivan is a little bit sus, like, okay. And Annie gets a bit shy.
Does that, sound weird?
No.
It's not that it's weird, but will she miss him or his money?
And will you miss me or my money, Blair?
Well, your money, Blair.
Again, there is this sense of being flirtatious. We also know that this is a transactional relationship, but we cannot help but see how Annie is not mainly referring to that. It's not just about the money. It's about what the money brings, the lifestyle it brought, where there was no worry in sight, which is probably a big contrast to her normal life. There is also this sense where Ivan is keeping the distance in some way, kind of like when she said she's going to miss him, and that's an actual vulnerable moment for Annie. He is kind of like, me or my money? He himself doesn't believe that there could actually be any real emotional attachment here, which we cannot really say for Annie, even though she plays into his humor. But here's the thing. If Ivan would marry an American woman, he'll be an American and he would not have to go to Russia. Now, they have a little bit of a play. Who would he marry? He's mentioning his friends and also Annie's friend. And at the end, he says, you.
You?
Annie is not that amused. She scoffs and she's like, okay, you. Almost hinting as though, or that, sure, you'll marry me, or the fact that he mentioned her kind of last. But Ivan's idea just keeps growing. I mean, they're in Vegas. People get married in Vegas. Annie is not finding it amusing. Like, what the F is he doing right now?
Don't fuck around.
She is not taking him serious at all, and she's even mocking him in like a childish voice. Like, okay, this is such an immature thing. But Vanya keeps persisting. Let's get married. Now, at this point, Annie even gets upset. Like, she gets mad that why is he playing with her like that?
Why?
Don't fucking cheese me with that shit, okay?
The reality is that for Annie, this would be a huge thing. Despite them having fun, living carefree, right, this whole week, there is a difference between Ivan's privilege and Annie's life and how she is surviving. So him tingling this marriage as just another fun thing, this is where it crosses the line. Because this is not anymore just, oh, we're having fun. This could actually totally change her life. This is a reality for her. So she gets mad that Ivan is even joking about it. She's basically protecting herself. She knows that this is too good to be true. So she doesn't even want him to, get her hopes up. In contrast to Vanya, this could be a quick fix. So he doesn't have to go back to his big bad father.
And I will become American and my parents will suck my dick.
So he keeps being persistent and he asks her again to marry him. Annie is still mocking him, but the more Vanya is talking and expressing that he thinks that they really get along and they would get along even if he wouldn't have money, the more Annie is letting the hope start to build. She asks him if he is really being serious.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. And I said it twicely.
He even says that he's nervous, so he's gonna speak in Russian, which makes Annie feel even more like, oh my God, like he's being serious. Like this is important to him. It's not just a fun thing. Like he's actually nervous because he actually likes me. He has this innocent look to him, the way he's looking at Annie. And also us as viewers truly believe him, that this is just a young man in love and he really wants this. Annie sits up, she gets closer to him. She smiles, she lifts her hand and she says,
3 carats.
What about 4 or 5?
the vibe is
Or 6?
she is really vulnerable and really happy, but she almost kind of, adds the humor to it. So to make it less of a big thing, even though she can't believe that this is actually happening. She's truly believing this man that he wants to marry her. Now, I want to go even a little bit deeper into how come Annie is now truly believing this and she's not potentially seeing the situation for what it is. They've been on ecstasy, kind of, the fantasy life, carefree life, blah, blah, blah. She knows him maybe 2 weeks. Everything is just too good. He is extremely wealthy and he has the sense of being immature and innocent. All the signs that, Annie, someone who is very level-headed and confident and controlled, and she knows she knows how to take care of herself, to be pulled into this. Well, of course, you could say that she's using him, right? That she's playing on this innocence and him being a little bit clueless. So she's gonna get this ring and there you have it. But that would be not fair because the whole time when we are seeing Annie, we're literally seeing how she is transforming and getting more and more attached to this guy because of how he treats her. He also keeps on showing that he cares about her. He literally treats her as his girlfriend. And all of those are signs of affection and love, are not signs of this is a job. His caring side could for her mean that this is stable. Like he's a good person. We also have to remember that she was now exposed to this lifestyle, to the opportunity of actually having it different, of maybe admitting that the life she has is a life of struggle. We also need to remember that she herself is 23 years old. Despite, let's say, knowing the game, right? What is her role in this sense? I mean, who's to say that she is not allowed to have hopes and these hopes actually coming true? Unfortunately, she fails to see that this carefree life experience she had is all fueled by money and wealth, and she has no control over it. That's the part that she misses. In a second, this can all be gone just because Ivan decides so. But that's why maybe this marriage feels like a different step, a different thing. Maybe so far she does understand that this is all connected to him wanting her, and needing these services. But when he offers a marriage, that might to her seem like, wait, I can actually be part of this? I can have control over this? And maybe that's the moment when she just totally dismisses the fact that he is a privileged man who you just know for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and he just knows how to sway you. And as I said before, as much as we want to judge Annie and see how wrong this is, look, with her experiences, someone coming like that there, even though we all know the fairy tales are never real, there's always this sense, what if? What if this is it? She can say no to this guy, right? Because this is not real. But on the other hand, she's also saying no to the opportunity of this actually being real. Don't forget, people, hope is a powerful drug. So we see this young couple running to the Vegas chapel, getting married, and they are just in love and happy. And we as viewers are looking at this situation and we are thinking, wait, is this real? Annie is back at the strip club, and this time she's packing her things because she finally did it. She's finally getting out of here, and her fairy tale is about to start. Now, all of her colleagues and friends are actually really happy for her. They will miss her, but there is this sense of everyone feeling like finally, it happened for someone.
Oh my god, I know. Thank you. You hit the lotto, bitch.
Almost hinting at the fact that this is like a dream for everyone that is there, that someday they don't have to do this work anymore. Nobody's questioning the marriage. Nobody's questioning in how short of a time all of this happened. Everyone is just kind of blinded with this. Finally, someone got out, right? The fairy tale exists for someone. And maybe they're leaning into it because if it happens for Annie, it can happen also for them. When she's walking out, she's also telling to her bestie how she's planning to have a honeymoon in Disney because that was always her dream since she was a little girl.
Cinderella. Yes, fucking Cinderella. You know me so fucking well.
And her bestie is happy for her. There is one voice that it's not so excited. Remember Diamond? Oh, she's doubting this whole thing. And she is giving it not more than 2 weeks.
I give it 2 weeks, bitch.
But unfortunately or fortunately for Annie, I don't know, she doesn't get along with Diamond. So she writes it off as pure jealousy.
I'm just gonna go chill in my mansion or whatever.
We see Annie picking her ring. We see them shopping for her new clothes. And Annie is ecstatic. Her Cinderella story is finally happening. Until it turns into Cinderella Lie. You see, the word goes around that Ivan got married and his family is not happy about it. Of course, Ivan is dismissing it. Annie is a little bit worried. She hopes that his parents are going to accept her. And when she asks him when are they going to meet, Ivan seems more like, I don't know. When are we going to meet your parents? Deflecting. Annie is open for him to meet her parents. The thing is that they would need to go to Miami. You see, her mother lives there with her boyfriend. So we get another clue of who potentially Annie is. Her mom is living in another place. Maybe she moved there with her new boyfriend, and it seems like Annie and her sister are potentially not welcomed in some way, right? Or that they just don't live together. Like, we can't really say either way. Now, this is where Annie also starts to speak Russian. Despite her, not being the best at it, we see that there is also a shift of how she is approaching this relationship and how vulnerable and safe she feels with Vanya. Maybe she's even trying to reassure that she will fully emerge in this family. Please also his parents in some way. What follows is a shit show, okay? So this rich-ass family has handlers while Ivan is doing all these shenanigans, partying like crazy. It's not like he's left alone, okay? There are people who are hired by his father to make sure that everything is well. But getting married, this got out of hand and now they need to fix it. They get to Vanya's place, they want proof of marriage, and we see Ivan being the rebellious child. Okay?
Vanya, what the fuck?
He is mad why his parents even want this. Why are they entering his house? He shows the marriage certificate. And in all of this, what you realize is, yes, on one hand, it seems that Ivan is sticking with this marriage, right? Despite not being a good thing for the family. But on the other hand, the fact that he is putting up a tantrum about it shows you how non-confident he actually is about this. How this is just another thing he wants to get, and period. Because if he was confident in his marriage with Annie, if that was the main thing and not the rebellious part, right? Sticking it to his family, you would expect him being much more calmer. Introduce Annie as his wife, having no problem, his parents coming because this is what he wants to do. And we see Annie trying to make sense of it. She's trying to understand why are these people even coming in. She's trying to establish herself as his wife, even though she's repeatedly called a prostitute. How could he marry this prostitute? And to make matters worse, not only is everyone calling her that, even when Ivan tries to stand up for her, he says,
Just call me a hooker?
She's fucking erotic dancer. Hi, Doris.
Okay. Clearly, the fairy tale is crumbling. She is continuously reminded what is her position, But a part of her does not want to accept that. And she is holding desperately to the notion or the fact that she is his wife. Isn't that what maybe everyone is kind of told? The marriage is it. The marriage is everything. It also shows how little autonomy Vanya actually has, because he has no power over these handlers. If they want to get in, they will get in. If they want to do something, they will do something. So it's again seeing like this child running around and trying to get his way and being mad and how he deserves and like, listen to my wife and blah, blah, blah. But in reality has no power at all, apart from being a kid from the rich father that these men work for. Now, these handlers hire another guy. His name is Igor, and he's left in the living room together with Annie to kind of look after her while they go with Ivan to get this marriage certificate. And he seems like he's doing his job, right? He's a little bit shy. He doesn't really want to look at Annie. And on the other hand, we see Annie sitting on the couch, and there is terror on her face. It's almost like she is scared about the situation she is in, looking at this man, being alone with him in this living room. Now, the guy tries to be, friendly, tries to make sure that, she knows he's not going to do anything. So he kind of says, hi.
I'm Igor.
Annie, I'm Vanya's wife.
She tells him that she is Vanya's wife, and she shows him the ring. And it's all giving protection. There is a clear understanding in Annie's mind that she is in a vulnerable position, and she is using her status as wife of Vanya to protect herself. Almost like if you try to do something, just be aware I'm his wife. He congrats her on the marriage, and she's a little bit confused. Like, okay. Which again shows that this is all about her protecting herself, because she is expecting things to go down badly for her. Vanya is informed that his latest stunt really did it, because his parents are on their way to get him in America. So they're going to take the plane from Russia and get him, pack his little butt, and take him back to Russia. I don't know. They said something like that. And now we see Ivan changing the tune. You see, Ivan was all like, why are you here? What are you doing this? But the second he finds out his parents are on the way, he's like, wait, what? And he goes into panic.
What is going on?
Come on.
Come on. Why do we have to leave the
What he
house?
can do is flee. He tells Annie to get ready quickly, but in the whole commotion, she wants to get her pants on because she's half naked. Not really, but she's in her pajamas, let's say. But Ivan does not have time to wait for her, and he ditches her.
No, we can't do that. Okay, bye.
Out of the house, out of the mansion, and Annie is left there. Now, Annie tries to go after her. The handlers are not letting her. They even effed up that Ivan got away, and somehow, two big adult men cannot handle Ivan, then they can handle Annie. But then also that goes bad because she's putting up a fight and she is breaking noses and, it's a shit show. But she gets caught up behind. And the whole time, the vibe is of how Annie is being crazy, putting up a fight, while these handlers just want her to sit down and wait because they're waiting for the big boss to get this marriage annulled or divorced, whatever. So we see that they are not trying to hurt Annie, but we also see how Annie cannot see that.
Just sit. Relax.
She obviously cannot see that. Like, this is, to me personally, showing the reality of different experiences between men and women and how we just cannot sometimes understand each other because of those very experiences and because of the vulnerability a woman has when she is with another man in a compromising situation. You see, Annie cannot but see this as a dangerous situation for her. So her aim is to get out. She is in this house with two men who are a little bit thuggish, if that, not that that makes a point, but it certainly doesn't make it better. And she's literally just fighting for her life. She starts even screaming rape. And it's giving again, oh my God, look, women just using this. But if you actually understand the situation, that's literally what's going on through her head. How do you think a woman in this position is going to feel like? Especially when they keep calling her hooker and prostitute. Like, hello? Of course she's gonna react that way. And that's how the movie makes you see.
No, put it. It's bad way. Just see.
I fucking dare you take another fucking
I don't touch you.
If you were someone who is looking at this situation thinking, oh my God, she needs to chill, she's making it worse, she needs to, they're not gonna hurt her, blah, blah, blah. How easy it is to not see the other perspective. How easy it is to, as a viewer, look at the situation objectively. They're not trying to hurt her, but not realizing that she is experiencing a different reality. Be it for her experiences, be it for her beliefs, does not matter. When it comes to Vanya, clearly the mask has fallen. He ditches Annie in the house, and at the end of the day, he's just scared child running away from his parents. Now, the big boss of the handlers comes and he tries to put some senses into Annie, right? She's naive, thinking that this is real, this marriage is real. This is just another of his whims because this is what they deal with all the time. It's just that he this time really went really crossed the line with the marriage. When she tries to say, this is my house because I'm his wife or whatever.
Your home?
Yeah, my home.
This isn't Ivan's home. This is his father's house. You know that bedroom you'll be fucking in? That's his parents' room.
He has a little room down the hall. The bedroom they were sharing, it's his parents' bedroom. So Ivan is basically nothing without his family. Annie is listening to this, but she also almost does not want to accept it. There is some back and forth. The big boss reassuring Annie that they don't want to do anything to her. They just want to make sure that Ivan comes back. They try to reach Ivan from her phone, but straight to the voicemail. So they are kind of like, oh, what a husband type of thing, provoking the whole situation, making fun of it. And at the end, Annie agrees to find Ivan. The thing is that this boss paints a very nice picture of how this will go down if Annie will not
A
cooperate.
scheming prostitute married Ivan, cheated Ivan to marry her so she can steal from his wealthy family. That's it.
Definitely.
And I'm sure you already have criminal records, so...
And when Ivan is a rich Russian with powerful family and Annie is, in his words, a prostitute, how does she think things will go? And there you have it. The reality of differences in status. It does not matter if Ivan was the one who played Annie. Even if we say that Annie played him, he played as much into it. Because Annie is perceived in society as lower and is being judged just for the job that she does, she'll always be the one to blame. Obviously, Annie realizes in what kind of trouble she is, but she still very much hopes that everything will be solved as long as they find Ivan. So she agrees to kind of help them look for him. Now, we see them going through, different places, some places even where Annie and Ivan spent together. And what was once a representation of a fairy tale of something, this lavish lifestyle, carefree, it's being tainted with now the reality that there is no such thing. As much as this life was presented as carefree, no consequences, there are consequences. The question is, for who? Through this whole journey, we also see this Igor guy trying to take care of Annie in some way, but she being very dismissive. Like she does not want to have it. She has no trust in him. And it makes you wonder, because there's a difference between when Vanya treated her good and Igor treating her good, but accepting Vanya's treatment and not Igor's treatment. On one side, you could say that Annie herself is falling for the belief that if someone is on the lower status, they are not to be trusted in some way, right? They're just going to try to use you. Maybe she herself lives that life in that way, right? She needs to get that money, even though, like we saw in the strip club, if a customer is of her colleague, it's about that coin, right? Sometimes you're judging other people because you're doing that thing. On the other hand, we could say that because she trusted Ivan and she was hurt by Ivan, now she doesn't trust also this guy. But to be honest, I don't believe that because like I said, she still has hope that this will be solved once they find Ivan and everything would be okay. So it does hint that she herself, being a victim of the society and the perception we have of status, she's supporting this system herself. They start getting a lead on Vanya. You see, every club they go to, they find out that he was there just 20 minutes ago. So Vanya is just happily partying, continuing to live his life the way he wants to live it. Interesting. We finally see him. He's wasted and he is walking in a familiar red hallway. It's the headquarters. It's where he met Annie. Just this time, he's getting into VIP room with Diamond. Now, Diamond cannot believe that Annie's husband is right here, right now, but she's also like, I knew it. I gave it less than 2 weeks. And look who is back. And I'm going to serve him now.
Or Vanya, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Now, Annie luckily has her best friend still there. She gets a tip that Vanya is in HQ and they rush there to get Vanya. Now, they're going through this hallway, looking at the doors, and they finally enter the VIP room where Vanya is in love with Diamond. Literally, he's telling her he loves her. And for the first time, we see how empty are words that Ivan is saying. And it's all about the intoxication, not only in this case of alcohol or whatever he's taking, but his life itself, the privilege that he has. He does not care that Annie was stuck in the house, that the handlers are after him. He is literally expressing his love to another woman. Annie's colleague, for that matter. Annie pulls Diamond off and she's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna fight you, whatever. And then she drops to her knees and she's trying to make Vanya get to his senses in a way. She has teary eyes and she's just begging him to, get it together. Why didn't he return her call?
Why'd you fucking leave me, Vanya? I tried to run out.
Which shows us that Annie is feeling like Ivan might be acting this way, not answering her calls, because he thought that she abandoned him, because he thought that she stayed behind on purpose. And we see her almost begging him or apologizing to him and trying to make him, not do anything stupid, that she's still there type of thing.
Just look at me, okay? Fucking ignore me. It doesn't fucking matter about her. It doesn't matter about
And in this very moment, there is a sense of why is she actually doing this? You see, if it was really about love, if she herself was really into Vanya, wouldn't you expect her being pissed at the fact that he was now taking a lap dance from another woman? Wouldn't you expect her being like, you're such a dick, and maybe even walk away? The fact that she's actually pleading him confirms again that the infatuation she was feeling was the possibility of getting out of the struggle that she was feeling. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not see as Annie using Vanya. I still see it as Annie being swept away by what Vanya was offering, which is so common when there is such a difference in status. And as much as you want to judge it, when you're living your life being judged all the time, not having any support from anywhere or your family, say no to the possibility of things being better. It's not a love story. It's a life story. And it does not serve her if she freaks out on him, or if she for a second thinks that he doesn't care about her. Now, the whole time, Vanya is not like, it's almost like Annie is invisible. He's asking in his intoxicated state if his parents are still there. And Annie is trying to make him realize how important this is. More and more showing that now she's in the survival mode. Like, I'm not giving up on this dream. And everything feels very much like how Annie fell for his innocence, or some could say use his innocence to feel safe, to feel comfortable, to get the sense of her life actually getting better, right? To her fairy tale actually happening, and failing to realize that Vanya is just not it. Okay, that the difference in status and in the way they are living their life is just not gonna actually help her get out of her misery, because Ivan doesn't even understand what that is. They drag Ivan out of the place, but as they're leaving, she gets in a fight with Diamond. And the only thing that I saw watching this fight is the representation of Annie fighting her old life, even though it's been just not even like 2 weeks ago. But she is just getting at Diamond, and there is this sense, because of everything that is happening, she's just really, really fighting to get away from the life that she knows and get to the life she got to know in the last, 10 days. They finally get to the court to get this marriage annulled, or for the two of them to get divorced. And as much as Annie is putting up a fight and trying to say that Ivan is intoxicated and they're forcing this and blah, 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 what actually saves them is, or saves her, is the fact that this is the wrong court. Okay. So they missed the opportunity to resolve this situation before the parents come to America. And behold, what we see next is a powerful Russian lady, a stereotype, which, questionable. And she is mad. She is mad how the handlers let Ivan get in this trouble and how intoxicated he is and how, it's giving mama taking care of her son.
Ваня? Вань, что с тобой? Покажи, подожди, посмотри на меня, Ваня.
And she is mad that he embarrassed her like that. Now, in this whole situation, Annie is trying to meet the mother-in-law. Maybe her last plea to show that, she's a good girl. She stands up. She presents herself. She says that she's so happy to be a part of this family. And the whole time you're thinking, woman, at this point, please. But you also kind of understand, like, she truly fell for the fairy tale. She truly is in it.
Галина Захарова. Меня зовут Anora. Я очень рада наконец с вами познакомиться. Это такая часть женой Ивана и часть вашей семьи.
Ivan is not your
She gets
husband.
hit by the reality that this is not happening and that she's going to get divorced from Ivan, while Ivan is even complimenting his mom, clearly showing that he's not here. They're going to get to the private jet and they're going to fly to the other state where they can get the annulment. Now, as they are walking toward the plane, Annie is walking together with Ivan and she keeps trying to make him talk to her. But he's not doing it. He's just looking down or straight ahead and he's just walking. When they reach the plane, she yells at him.
Vanya, be a fucking man and talk to me.
And in this very moment, Ivan turns around. He walks down to Annie.
What do you want me to say?
How difficult it is for her to understand that they need to get to this plane, fly to Vegas, and that's it. Like, what's there confusing? Well, the one who's confused is Annie, because she's like, so what? We're getting a divorce? And Vanya is like, yes, biz, we're getting a divorce. Are you stupid?
So we're getting a divorce.
Of course, are you stupid?
Annie is holding back her tears and she can't believe what she's hearing. Maybe a part of her, despite him being child, immature, running away, that he saw her worthy, that he actually liked her. Ivan looks at her and he's like, thank you for this time, for this week. Thank you for making my last trip to America so fun. And that's what Annie missed the whole time. Since the first day they met, all Ivan wanted to do is have fun. Even though he showed care for her, even though he really wanted to be with her, it was just for the experience. And that's where we see for the, I don't know which time, that the difference in status, the difference in privilege does dictate how you approach life. Because Ivan had the privilege to take this as a fun thing. For Annie, on the other hand, this was a ticket out. She cannot see this just as a fun experience. While Ivan has no consequences, Annie has. She's again hit with the reality of how people see her, unworthy. He goes in the plane, but Annie is not following. So his mom goes out to see where is she. You see, Annie is not giving up that easily. Sure, she has no problem divorcing Ivan, but she is going to get a lawyer, and she's going to get what she's entitled
Then
to.
I'm gonna sue Ivan and you, and I'm gonna walk away with fucking half because I didn't sign a prenup.
Now, people, do not tell me when you were watching this scene that there is not a sense of booyah, a sense of win for the underdog, for the person who got played by the rich people, though she was driven by her own desires. Okay, right? This is like a sense of victory.
Do that. And you will lose everything. Do you have a house? Do you have a car?
Everything that you have, I will take. Cut to Annie sitting on a plane, flying to Vegas. You see, when there is money in play and when someone has much more than you, it does not matter how right you are, how fair you are to get what you deserve. You'll not see the day to fight it because they're going to bury you with expenses before you even try. Even if the movies and stories and Cinderella fairy tales told us how if you get married, that's it, how you as an underdog can fight for your rights, the reality is that the system is built to favor those who actually have wealth. Annie can't fight them because the fight is already in their favor. Now, there's a little fight on the plane. You see, Vanya is fighting with his mom, and it is about Annie. He cannot understand how his mom is making such a big deal out of the fact that he had a little fun, married an escort, and what's the problem? Like, stop making it a big deal.
Убей меня теперь, мам! Ну я что делал? Я просто с эскортницей провел неделю. Просто неделю провел, да? Как бы женился, в чем проблема?
Well, did you forget? He's privileged. Now they are at the right court and they need to sign the papers. Ivan does his thing and now it's Annie's turn. She's looking at Ivan while she's signing it, but he doesn't even lift his head up. Now, as they're leaving, Igor takes the, courage in expressing how Ivan should apologize to Annie for what he put her through, right? That he played her like that. But no, Ivan is not gonna apologize to anyone because that's what his mama thinks is the right thing, and that's why he is the way he is. But also, Annie is not gonna leave without saying her last
And
words.
you are a disgusting hooker.
And your son hates you so much he married one to piss you off.
The father starts laughing, and there is this sense of, him also seeing how ridiculous his son is, and he is, happy that Annie called his boy out like that. But the reality is that, people, this is just all very amusing to him. There is no, look, even he sees, because we cannot keep thinking that someone wealthy as them, as they are represented, such a different class, is actually ever going to sympathize with you. For him, it's just an amusing thing, and their life goes on. What we also see is that everything is set up in a way that protects Vanya's whims, right? If he wants to have this party, if he wants to get married just like that, he can do it. While Annie, even though she has her rights and she for sure has her dignity, is not protected at all. She needs to do whatever they want her to do when it comes to play with her or when it comes to get rid of her. Igor takes Annie back home and they're actually staying at the mansion. It's gonna be the last day, she's gonna pack, and the next day he's gonna take her to get the money she was promised for helping to find Ivan, and then she's gonna go home basically. But they stay in this mansion for one more night. And as they're watching TV and eating dinner, the attitude is Annie does not like Igor, while Igor is trying to be nice, but she's just rude to him. He starts talking about names. You see, Annie's name is actually Anora. And he says how he prefers Anora more than Annie.
Just a fuckhead named Igor. Fucking Igor. Stupid name.
No, it's a good name.
It means warrior. And in this moment, we could see the difference in self-love between Igor and Annie. Now, one might say that similar to language, a representation of status, a name is representation of identity. The fact that Annie chooses to be called Annie rather than Anora could hint at some sense of wanting to distance herself from the original, almost hinting at her hating her identity, while Igor loving it. Now, the reality is that they are both considered on the lower end of the society, right? He's just someone who gets hired to do the dirty work for the people who pay him. And in a way, you could say that Annie is just doing this job where she gets hired to provide pleasure for people who pay her. But there is a sense of Igor not resenting who he is, not hating who he is. Again, he likes his name. It means warrior, despite also having a life where he just needs to, be submissive to whoever hires him. Igor is someone who accepts his situation and doesn't hate it. It's just how it is. While Annie does not accept it and she actually hopes for a better life. Now, if you think about it, there is also a sense of irony. You see, Igor has been seen always as someone who is just accepting of life and his situation, and he just does whatever people tell him to do. While Annie is the one who kept on fighting, who kept on wanting to prove something or to protect herself. And yet, he's the one who is proud of his name and who he is because it means warrior, while Annie is the one who's actually showing warrior-like characteristics, maybe hinting at the fact that she is a warrior, but she doesn't really see that in herself. Now, this could be obviously the question of course he doesn't hate himself because he doesn't have to sell his body while Annie has. But again, this is a perspective of a judgmental view of what kind of job Annie does. And I'm not saying that the job is perfect, nor am I saying that the job is terrible. I'm just saying that we're not the ones who can judge that, right? So I would say that this is more about the difference between someone accepting of their situation and someone not accepting their situation. And we also learn what are actual expectations of Annie when it comes to men. You see, she starts again accusing Igor that he would rape her if he had a chance. And despite Igor being baffled why she even think something like that, and no, he doesn't want to, Annie doesn't believe it.
Why?
What? Why?
Why wouldn't you rape me?
Because I'm not a...
Nope. Because you're a faggot-ass bitch.
Annie's experience is that people or men will just do one thing when it comes to her: use her body for their own pleasure. And the thing is, as much as these are her experiences, like I said before, when you're a woman, it is very, very difficult to let go of the thought of being sexually abused when you are left alone with a man you don't feel comfortable with. She even accuses him that he's gay if he wouldn't do that. She storms up the stairs, but she actually brings him a blanket and a pillow to lie on. So kind of also, taking care of him in some way. It is the next morning and Annie is hit with the reality. This time she's standing in front of those big windows where once she had a sense of beginning and a sense of things being better and possible. And now all she sees is snow outside, cold, and almost a metaphor for that fairy tale that she saw at the beginning being a lie. So Igor drives Annie back to her place and they are sitting in the car. When Annie is trying to step out of the car, he stops her and he gives her the wedding ring. You see, when they were in the mansion, they took Annie's wedding ring, and Igor was the one who took it. But now he is actually giving the ring to her, meaning he didn't give it to the family, nor did they ask about it. Now, for Annie, this is a big deal. Like, she can actually pawn the ring and get money back. And in a way, this ring also represents the transformation, right? Just not the one that she was hoping for. You see, this was once a representation of a better life and some kind of status, but now it's just a potential cash. Now, Annie is still in the car, and Igor takes out her suitcases and carries it to her doorstep. She doesn't get out, so he comes back. She says that this car that they're in is like him. And Igor smiles and asks if she likes the car. And she says no.
It's my grandmother's.
And we see Annie being almost, sorry for what she said. She feels like, damn, I really, why did I say that? And she proceeds to go on top of Igor. But Igor wants to kiss her. You see, for him, this is more of an intimate thing and not just transaction. We see Annie fighting the kiss, and then he lets her go. She starts punching at his chest, and we see the raw Annie, the Annie who keeps on fighting, the Annie who was marked by experiences, and especially with the judgment from society. And as we saw the glimpses of how she sees her sexualizing herself as the only worth, the only thing that she can offer, we see it in this very moment. Because the gratitude she felt for Igor to help her, to be a good person to her, the only way she knew how to repay him is by sex with another transaction. And when she saw that Igor does not want that, she broke down, because maybe that's not the only thing she can offer. Now, I know that there are critiques of this, storyline of, a stripper is broken, blah, blah, blah. But I honestly don't think that that's what the movie is trying to show. I think that the stripper versus the wealthy Russian guy is almost like in a way, a comical extreme representation, because that's the easiest to show this status differences. But I see more this movie as a story about self-worth, the thing that we all struggle with, and it's usually tainted by experiences and expectations, and then the very reality of the society we live in. And that the ultimate struggle that we all have is accepting ourselves, being worthy, no matter how the system is trying to prove us wrong. But let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about this movie? How do you feel about the commentary that is provoking? And as always, trust your individuality.